Have you been learning English for years but still cannot speak easily and fluently? Well, you're not alone. Many people have no problem with reading or writing skills, but when it comes to English speaking, they just feel embarrassed and get stuck. In this post, I would like to share with you 5 golden tips that will help you improve your English speaking fast. First, learn phrases, not single words. Learning separate words is a very common mistake learners usually have. And of course, it's not an appropriate method to learn any language, not just English. I'll show you why. Knowing the meaning of words is useful, but knowing how to use them in the context is even more important. I mean the collocation in English. Have you ever wondered why we say take a picture and not do a picture or make a picture? It deals with a combination of words. Thinking about what goes before and after the keywords may take time. It interrupts with your conversation as well. Learning phrases seems like the smart way, since once you're familiar with the word chain, you must speak naturally and automatically, so your communication may go more smoothly. It will take you less time to think if you learn phrases instead of words. Now, coming to the second golden tip, it would be now you must pay less attention to grammar. I mean, you must focus on fluency instead of grammar. Some experts even say that you don't need to study grammar in order to be able to speak English fluently. Just look at the way kids learn to speak English. Even though they rarely learn any grammar rules, the English speaking can be considered fluent, natural, like native speakers. And the truth is, kids acquire language. They don't deliberately learn language at all. Now, kids say whatever comes to their mind, and they aren't afraid of making mistakes. This principle can be applied successfully even to adults. Now, grammar is just an aspect of English. There are other things which are much more important in speaking. Now, focusing too much on grammar stops you from opening your mouth to speak. The fear of losing face makes you nervous when it comes to speaking. I have seen a lot of English learners who are very excellent at grammar, yet can't say a word when it comes to speaking. So, studying grammar doesn't help much. Why study grammar when you just use English as a tool to get your message across? So let's start with simple English and then make it longer with more complicated words. And remember that your listener isn't an IELTS examiner who's going to analyze your language. Your listener just wants to get your messages. And they aren't patient enough to wait for you to go back and forth with all the grammar tenses in your mind. There are too many rules to learn in grammar which cause obstacles for beginners. So the key idea is to put grammar aside. Speaking will turn out to be less stressful and more joyful. Third point is listen to more English. Now, the more inputs you have, the more output you can produce. Listening and reading are two channels of getting input. If you want to improve your English speaking, focus more on listening rather than reading. Learn with your ears and not your eyes. Listening helps to build up your vocabulary and grammar. Knowledge and understanding about some topics are also broadened if you often read and listen. Fourth golden tip would be practice thinking in English. Now, this is something very important. Are you generally translating from your mother tongue to English when you speak? If yes, do stop it right now. Start to think in English when you speak English. Lots of people can listen and understand 99% what the English speaker says, but fail to express a simple thought because they can't find the right words. And that's the reason why you have to think directly in English. Once again, the materials for input should be authentic. Some easily found resources I would recommend are TED Talks, BBC English News, cartoons and movies, songs, audiobooks, and thousands of others. Listening alone doesn't make you a fluent English speaker, but it's an important stepping stone for you to move on. Once you have enough input, speaking is just the last step in the process. When you listen to correct English sentences, they stay in your memory, and then you will be able to build similar sentences yourself easily. I know it may not be easy for beginners since you're quite new to the language, but once you're familiar with the process, everything will be alright. Thinking directly in English reduces the time to think by half. It takes you double the time when you generate ideas in your first language and then seek for equivalent words in English. Another reason why you should think in English is that there are many words in your language that you can't find a translation for in English, or the translation doesn't fully transfer the sense you want to make. Mistranslating happens sometimes as well. Now, these reasons easily lead to communication breakdown for sure. Now, perhaps you're eager to know how to think in English, aren't you? Well, everything needs training. Start small with common and simple phrases. Do a little English thinking every day, and you will be surprised with your output one day. Start with some pieces like, let's go, dinner is ready, come and get it. Good job, you did it, come on, come in, and so on. Limit translation as much as possible. Start using English dictionary. Try to explain English words using English. That's a good habit for English learners. Say them every day while grabbing some new phrases at the same time to see the progress. In communicating, guessing what the speaker is going to say next may help. Keep your brain busy by processing information and preparing what to say when it comes to your turn. This preparation gives you more data for the speaking output. This also helps avoid getting stuck when you can't think of anything to say in a conversation. Now, the fifth golden point would be talk to yourself. Now, needless to say, self practice plays an important role in learning a foreign language. You need to prepare yourself first before you happen to talk with others in a foreign language. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel when using the language. Just like your mother tongue, you were born with it, so speaking isn't a big issue for you. The idea is just try to familiarize yourself with English and how to talk to yourself. Well, there are a lot of ways. Choose the most common situations in your daily life so that you may have real context. You may talk about your hobbies, family, favorites, school, holidays, or jobs. When you're at home alone, stand in front of the mirror and practice. It's better if you can use some body language along with the talk. When you're on a train or a bus, talk to yourself or just think of something to talk about when you are in such situations. When you're doing some housework, talk to yourself. Try to maximize the amount of speaking every day. In daily life, there may arise new situations that you haven't experienced before. Think of something you may say in this case. Later, when you encounter the situations again, you can find yourself ready to communicate. Before bed, try to summarize what you have and what you haven't done during the day and talk about the plan for tomorrow. That really helps. Well, friends, I have just shared with you 5 golden tips to speak fluently and effectively. Just make it a point to implement these 5 steps on a daily basis. And after a month's time, try to identify the change in yourself. Okay, you would soon become a confident speaker. That's all for today. Have a nice day.